Why do we worry more when life is actually going well? We get to that point where life finally starts to calm down, problems ease, things are moving in the right direction, and suddenly we feel anxious, worried, or afraid. Almost like your mind is waiting for something to go wrong. Why does this happen? And more importantly, how do we stop it? Well, let's talk about it. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Tim Box, Mind Coach, and today I want to talk about something that confuses a lot of people. Why is it that sometimes when life finally starts going well, we actually start to feel worse? My one-to-one clients often tell me something like this: things are actually good at the moment, but I feel strangely uneasy, or I don't understand it. I have a good life. I shouldn't feel so anxious all the time. And when this happens, people often conclude that something must be wrong with them. They think, if I can't just enjoy life when times are good, then what hope does that give me for the future? But this reaction is actually more understandable and more common than you might think. Human beings have evolved to survive, and it was Charles Darwin who originally observed that it's not the strongest or the fastest of the species that survives, but the most adaptable to change. This means us humans have evolved to be pretty good at adapting to our environment. And to do this, we've had to do a fair bit of prescient thinking, which means our minds naturally scan the horizon for potential problems or threats. Now, this isn't because modern civilized life is full of disasters, but because noticing potential problems helped our ancestors stay alive. So when life is calm, your mind sometimes goes looking for something to fix. This isn't because you've got a negative outlook or a bit of faulty wiring, but because this is part of your natural human process. It's like a smoke alarm that occasionally goes off when you're making toast. Nothing's actually wrong, but the system is still doing what it was designed to do, even though now it might be freaking out about some burnt toast as if it were life or death. There's another interesting thing that often happens as life improves. When one problem disappears, the mind might replace it with another. And you've probably experienced this yourself many times. If you've spent months worrying about money and suddenly your finances improve, does your mind become completely peaceful? Do people that have just come into money tell us they no longer have any worries? No, they don't, do they? They just tell us that now they have other things they worry about. When life improves in one area, often our mind just finds a different area to worry about. Health, relationships, the future. Your mind isn't doing this to sabotage you. It's doing it because it's always trying to direct your attention toward what it believes is important. It's like the row of fence posts that are perfectly upright, except one that's wonky. Which one do we notice most? The wonky one. Not because we're negative thinkers who like to focus on life's failings, but because that's clearly the fence post that requires our attention. That's the one that needs fixing. This is where many people make a mistake. They interpret this uneasy feeling as evidence that something bad must be about to happen, or even worse, that this means there's something wrong with them. But anxiety is not a prediction, and it's certainly not a sign of malfunction. It's simply there to focus you on what's important. It's your mind saying, pay attention, this matters. Sometimes what matters is safety, but often what matters is happiness, connection, opportunity, growth. It's ironic that many of the things that make life meaningful also trigger anxiety. Not because there's something wrong, but because these things matter. If what I'm talking about in this video is resonating with you, then why not check out the members area of the channel? In there you get hours of extra content, including my full Clear Your Head Anxiety Relief program and weekly live streams where you get to ask me directly about anything relating to mindset and anxiety relief. Just click the link in the description. There's another reason people sometimes feel uneasy when life improves. The human mind prefers what is familiar, strangely enough, even if it's uncomfortable. So if you've spent years dealing with stress, struggle, or anxiety, then calm can feel strangely alien to you. Your mind doesn't know how long it will last, and of course, your experiences of difficult times being the norm, the default. So it makes sense that this strange feeling of calm and comfort kind of feels temporary. Suddenly we're bracing for impact, just waiting for the inevitable return to discomfort. And this uncertainty and expectation of disaster can trigger the scanning mechanism again. So your mind starts asking questions like, is this too good to be true? What if I lose this? What if it all falls apart? But that doesn't mean disaster is actually coming. It just means your mind hasn't caught up with the new reality yet. The thing that many people find hard to accept is the idea that being calm is your default. The state of stress you're used to has simply been because your mind hasn't felt safe for a long time. But in truth, it's just been waiting to finally return to its natural state, that of peace and comfort. The danger here is that we start living in anticipation of something going wrong. Instead of experiencing the moment we're in, we brace ourselves for a future that may never arrive. And when we do that, we accidentally rob ourselves of the good times. Not because life isn't good, but because our attention is somewhere else. So what can we do? How do we break out of this negative expectancy loop? Well, the answer isn't to try to stop anxious thoughts. It's simply to recognize what they are. Just thoughts. Your mind isn't predicting the future. It's just doing what minds do. Scanning, checking, preparing. Once you understand that, you don't have to treat every uneasy feeling like an alarm. It's not some inner oracle with an irrefutable prediction of future events. It's just your mind looking out for you. It's okay to acknowledge this without fearing it, and then return your attention to what's actually happening rather than the things you imagine might happen. Here's something important to remember. If life is going well, there is no rule that says you have to ruin it by preparing for disaster. Most of the time, nothing dramatic happens. Most days are fairly ordinary. Most are actually pretty boring. And believe it or not, that's a good thing. Oftentimes, the worst things about life aren't the things that are actually happening, but how we make ourselves feel about the things that might happen. We're living the what ifs rather than the what is. So if things are going well right now, allow that in. Peace is something you deserve and something you will have when you stop predicting the next battle. If you found this helpful, please give the video a like and subscribe to the channel for weekly videos on anxiety, mindset, and understanding how the mind works. And if this video in particular has resonated with you, then here's another video that I think you'll get some benefit from. But that's it for this one. I'm Tim Box. Always remember, be kind to your mind, and I'll see you next time.